Ever wonder why, like, some people just crush it when things get tough, while others, well, maybe not so much.
Totally.
Like, what is that thing that sets them apart?
Right.
Well, get ready to unlock some serious potential today because we're diving deep into this amazing concept, mindset.
Yes.
And our guide for this journey, none other than Carol Dweck and her groundbreaking book, Mindset.
This book, it's a game changer.
Seriously.
Right.
It totally changed how I see, like, everything. How our beliefs, even the ones we don't realize we have, shape literally everything we do.
It's true. It's not just about, like, slapping on a happy face.
Oh, absolutely not. This isn't some cheesy self-help stuff.
No. It's way deeper than that. It's about rewiring how we see our own abilities.
Yeah, and what I love about Dweck's work is that it's all backed by solid research. She doesn't just throw these ideas out there. It's like she's got the data to back it up.
100%. And she really dismantles this whole idea of simply thinking positive.
Right. It's not enough to just, like, wish for things to be better. It's got to be, more...
Proactive.
Yes. Proactive. It's about fundamentally changing how we approach challenges, how we interpret setbacks.
It's that shift from, like, oh, I'm a failure, to, okay, what can I learn from this?
Okay, so let's break down the core of Dweck's work. This idea of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. What's the difference?
Okay, so picture this, right? You've got two 4-year-olds building a tower.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
One kid, totally stuck in a fixed mindset. All they care about is being called smart.
Oh, I know that kid.
Right. So when the tower inevitably collapses, because, 4-year-olds, they totally melt down.
Cue the waterworks.
Exactly. Blame the blocks, blame their sibling, anything but themselves. Because to them, failing means they're not smart anymore.
Oh, that's so sad. They're trapped by this idea of being smart and they're terrified of messing up.
Now, the other kid, this little one's rocking that growth mindset. They see the collapsing tower as, like, a fun challenge.
A puzzle to solve.
Yeah. Each tumble is like, how can I make it stronger this time?
It's amazing how even at that age, those mindsets are already showing up, right?
Oh, totally.
And it makes you wonder how these mindsets play out in the real world, beyond building blocks. Like, what about in school?
Oh, huge impact there. Dweck followed this group of students from grade school, where things were pretty easy for them, to junior high, where, the game changes a bit.
The pressure ramps up, the work gets harder, yeah.
Exactly. And here's what's fascinating. The fixed mindset students, the ones used to acing everything because it came easy, their grades actually started to tank when they hit a wall.
Wait, seriously? Just
Yeah.
because they were used to being the smart kids, things getting tougher threw them completely off.
You got it. They didn't know how to handle it. Instead of seeing it as an opportunity to learn and grow, they'd blame anything but themselves. The teacher hates me. This test is rigged.
Yeah.
It was always something external.
Classic. Anything to protect that smart image, right?
Totally. Meanwhile, the growth mindset students, they might have struggled too, but they were all about finding new ways to learn. They were like, okay, this is hard, but I need a new strategy. They were asking for help, trying different approaches, challenges. Those were just opportunities to level up their learning game.
So it's like the fixed mindset sees challenges as a threat, while the growth mindset sees them as a level-up opportunity in a video game.
100%.
I love that analogy.
And here's another mind-blowing thing Dweck found. It's not just about how we think, but also how we talk to our kids about their abilities.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out that whole "you're so smart" praise can actually backfire.
Really? I would have thought that would boost their confidence.
You'd think so, right?
Mhm.
But when we constantly tell kids how smart they are, it can actually push them into that fixed mindset without even realizing it.
So they become afraid of making mistakes because then they won't be seen as the smart one anymore.
Exactly. They start to avoid challenges because they're so scared of looking dumb. But here's the cool part. When researchers praised kids for their effort, wow, you crushed it. You must work super hard. It totally changed the game.
So it's about praising the process, not just the person.
You got it. And you know what's interesting? Dweck found this applies to relationships too.
Oh, I'm all ears. Because if mindsets are showing up in how we handle school and praise, they've got to be influencing our love lives, right?
Big time. Like, she tells this story about this woman, Penelope, who was constantly falling head over heels, convinced she'd found the one.
Okay, relatable.
But every single relationship would just crash and burn.
Oh, no. What was going wrong?
It was always, like, seemingly small stuff, a lame birthday present, a miscommunication over text.
Oh, I feel that. We've all been there. Those ambiguous text replies.
Right. But here's the thing. Penelope, she had this fixed mindset, so she went into relationships believing that people are who they are, can't really change.
So she wasn't leaving any room for growth or understanding for those inevitable bumps in the road every couple faces.
Exactly. She didn't see those little hiccups as chances to, like, communicate better or grow closer.
Yeah.
To her, they were deal breakers.
So instead of addressing things head on, she'd bolt at the first sign of imperfection. Classic fixed mindset move.
Classic. Now compare that with this other couple, Laura and James.
Okay, let's hear about Laura and James.
They have their issues too, don't get me wrong, but they both had this growth mindset. When Laura would get upset about something, James would encourage her to talk it out, creating this safe space for them to really connect.
Oh, that's so important.
They didn't see disagreements as a threat to the relationship, but as opportunities to understand each other better. Because they both valued personal growth, they were invested in helping each other become their best selves.
So they were turning those inevitable relationship speed bumps into chances to build a stronger bond. They were really practicing what we're talking about. But what about those areas where, like, natural talent is often praised? You know, like sports. Does this apply there too?
It totally does. And it leads us to one of the most interesting parts of Dweck's book, this whole idea of the natural in sports. Like, she uses this example of Billy Beane.
Wait, Billy Beane as in Moneyball.
The one and only.
No way! The Brad Pitt character.
Yep. So Beane was considered a total natural, like he excelled at every sport, but he had this fatal flaw, a fixed mindset.
Really? I never would have guessed that.
Right. Because on the surface, he had it all, but underneath, he was terrified of failure, couldn't handle setbacks. Every time he stepped up to bat, it was like staring humiliation in the face.
So even with all that raw talent, his mindset was holding him back.
Big time. Because he was so used to effortlessly succeeding, he never learned how to hustle, how to push through when things got tough, you know. But get this. Beane, he played alongside Lenny Dykstra, who was a totally different story.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about Dykstra.
So Dykstra, he was the opposite of a natural, not even close to Beane's level when it came to raw talent. Beane himself even said, like, Dykstra had zero concept of failure, and I was the opposite.
Wow, so even in the pros, where you'd think raw talent would be everything, mindset still reigns supreme.
Totally. And it's not just like a nice story. Research actually backs this up.
Yeah.
Athletes with a growth mindset, they're more likely to have what's called character or heart. They're the ones bouncing back from setbacks, the ones with that relentless drive, less likely to just give up when the going gets tough.
Because they don't see setbacks as a threat to their identity as an athlete, right? They see them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly. It's like their identity isn't tied to being good at the sport. It's tied to the process of learning and growing.
Okay, so we've seen how this mindset thing plays out in school, relationships, even in the high-pressure world of professional sports. It really makes you think about this whole concept of talent. Like, is it really this fixed thing you're born with, or can it be developed?
You're hitting on something huge. Dweck, she really digs into this whole talent myth, and what she finds is kind of mind-blowing.
Okay, lay it on me.
Let's talk about Babe Ruth. He's often held up as the ultimate natural, right? Effortlessly hitting home run after home run.
Oh, totally. You picture him just strolling up to the plate and knocking it out of the park.
Exactly. But the reality is, Babe Ruth, he was a workhorse. He didn't just wake up a home run king. He trained like crazy, especially in the off-season, to get in top shape, to refine his technique. And get this, he loved to practice.
So even the great Bambino wasn't just some naturally gifted, effortless athlete. There was serious effort behind the legend.
100%. And it's not just him. Dweck talks about Michael Jordan, too. You know, the guy practically synonymous with basketball brilliance. People chalk it up to pure talent. But Jordan himself, he swore by hard work, by relentless practice. He even said once, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed.
Well, I mean, those are some heavy stats. Not exactly what you'd picture from someone who's considered like the GD.
Right. But it just goes to show that even with natural ability, his success came from like showing up and doing the work, learning from those misses, and constantly pushing himself beyond his comfort zone.
So this is where that growth mindset really makes a difference, right? It gives even the most talented people the power to embrace challenges, to come back from those setbacks, and ultimately reach their full potential.
Exactly. In fact, Dweck actually argues that believing in fixed traits, even if they're seen as positive, can actually hold us back.
How
Because when we get too caught up in proving our natural talent, we become afraid to take risks, afraid to try new things, afraid to really push ourselves.
It's like we're trapped by this pressure to live up to a label.
Exactly. And she gives this example of this talented young composer, Adam Guettel. He was like pegged as a musical prodigy from a really young age, but instead of it being this empowering thing, it was this huge weight on his shoulders.
Because he felt this pressure to live up to his family's legacy, his genius genes.
Right. And it actually led to a lot of struggles for him. Anxiety, self-doubt, even substance abuse.
Wow, that's really sad.
It is. But eventually he realized that he had to find his own path, his own voice. He had to focus on his own growth and development, not just on proving this inherited talent.
It's like he needed permission to be more than his perceived talent.
Totally. And it just goes to show that even those labeled as gifted can really benefit from cultivating a growth mindset.
So it's not enough to just coast on natural talent. You have to put in the work, embrace those challenges, and always be willing to learn and grow.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that talent is important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. It's the raw ingredients, but it needs to be nurtured through effort, practice, and that willingness to dive into the unknown.
Okay, so this is all super fascinating, but I think the question on everyone's mind is, can we actually change our mindsets? Like, if we've been operating on that fixed mindset for, years, can we hit the reset button and switch to growth mode? That's the million-dollar question, right? Can we actually rewire those deep down beliefs about ourselves, especially when they've been running the show for so long?
It's definitely something people wonder about. But the good news is, yes, we can shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
Phew, that's reassuring.
It's not always easy, though.
Yeah.
It takes effort.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like unlearning years of ingrained patterns.
It's like choosing to renovate a room you've been comfortable in for years.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, like it might feel weird at first, even a little chaotic during the process, but the end result, it can be totally worth it.
Totally. So where do we even begin? Like, how do we start to make that shift?
Well, Dweck talks about this former student of hers who had this experience that really illustrates this.
Oh, yeah. The one who got some pretty harsh feedback on her thesis.
Yeah, so this student, she was used to acing everything, always getting praise and accolades.
She was that student.
Totally. So when her thesis got, ripped apart in this review, she was crushed.
Oof, I can only imagine.
It totally shook her confidence.
Ah.
And, it would have been easy to just, spiral and give up.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of us, myself included, would have probably been tempted to just shuck the whole thesis in the trash and, go eat a whole tub of ice cream.
Right, but here's the thing. She didn't. Instead of giving up, she actually used that feedback as fuel. She rewrote the entire thing.
Wow. Talk about turning a negative into a positive.
Right. She really took the criticism to heart. And you know what? She ended up with a much stronger thesis because of it.
That's amazing. It's like that saying, sometimes you have to break down to break through.
100%. But, and this is important, Dweck warns about falling into the trap of what she calls a false growth mindset.
A false growth mindset. Okay, now I'm really curious. What's that all about?
It's like people who talk about growth mindset, but don't actually walk the walk.
Okay, I see what you mean.
They'll say things like, oh yeah, I'm all about effort, or, mistakes. Those are just learning opportunities. But when you actually look at their actions, they're still playing it safe, still avoiding challenges like the plague.
It's like they're all talk and no action.
Exactly. It's not enough to just say the right things. You have to actually embody it,
Yeah, it's got to be more than just lip service.
Totally. And Dweck offers some really practical tips for actually making that shift, which I love about her work. It's not just some vague feel-good stuff. It's like she gives you the tools to actually put this into practice.
Okay, so what are some of those golden nuggets of wisdom?
Well, for starters, she stresses the importance of having a concrete plan.
Oh, yeah, I'm all about a good plan.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be like, oh, I want to be more growth-minded. We have to get specific. What areas of our lives do we want to apply this to? What are some actual steps we can take?
So if I'm feeling stuck in a rut at work, for example, instead of just wishing for things to be different, I would actually identify specific skills I want to learn, maybe find a course, or even reach out to someone I admire for advice.
Exactly. And beyond that initial push, it's also about maintenance, right? Like, how are we going to stay motivated? How are we going to handle those inevitable setbacks? Because they're going to happen.
For sure. It's like building any new habit. It takes time, effort, and consistency. We can't expect to just flip a switch and suddenly become growth mindset gurus overnight.
Exactly. And, it's often in those challenging moments when we face setbacks or criticism that our true mindset is really revealed.
So true. It's easy to have a growth mindset when things are going great, but when you're staring down a failure, that's the real test.
Totally. And another thing Dweck talks about is the power of our internal dialogue. When things get tough, it's so easy to get trapped in that negative self-talk loop.
Oh my gosh, yes. That voice that's like, I'm not good enough or I'm going to screw this up. Ugh, it's the worst.
Right. But a growth mindset is about challenging those thoughts and choosing to reframe them in a more constructive way.
So instead of saying, ugh, I'm terrible at this, I might say, okay, I haven't mastered this yet, but I'm willing to put in the work. It's about shifting that perspective.
Exactly. It's about replacing that judgmental mindset with a learning mindset. And the amazing thing is, this is something we can actively practice, like every single day with every thought we have.
This is so empowering. It's like we have more control than we realize. But let's be real, change can be tough, even when we've got the best intentions and all the tools. Are there any, pitfalls we should be aware of? Anything to watch out for along the way?
For sure. One big one Dweck mentions is trying to force a growth mindset on others. Oh, yeah, I can see how that would be tempting. Like, we learn all this amazing stuff, and we're so excited to share it with everyone we know, but...
But it can backfire big
Yeah.
time. It's like we want to fix our partners, our kids, our coworkers by, bombarding them with all this growth mindset info.
But it just doesn't work that way.
So it's more about embodying it ourselves and leading by example.
Exactly. Dweck really emphasizes that modeling a growth mindset in our own lives is the most powerful way to influence others. And remember, change takes time. It's a journey, not a race.
It really is a journey full of twists and turns and probably a few wrong turns along the way.
Absolutely. And even people who've, fully embraced a growth mindset can still have those moments where they slip back into those old thought patterns.
Oh, 100%. It's like those old beliefs are lurking in the shadows, just waiting to trip us up.
Totally. So Dweck talks about a few things that can help. First, we have to become aware of our personal triggers. Like, what are the situations or types of feedback that tend to send us spiraling back into that fixed mindset? So if I know I tend to get super defensive when someone criticizes my work, for example, I can anticipate that reaction and maybe find a more constructive way to respond.
Exactly.
Mm.
And another helpful strategy is to surround ourselves with people who support our growth, who value effort and learning. Because let's face it, change is a lot easier when you've got your own personal cheer squad.
It's like having a support system for your mindset.
Mm.
I love that. But even with all the support in the world, we're still going to face challenges, right?
Of course, setbacks are inevitable. They're a part of life. But here's the thing. They're not a sign of failure. They're opportunities for learning and growth. It's all about how we choose to view those experiences.
A growth mindset allows us to see those so-called failures as stepping stones, not roadblocks.
Beautifully said. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose how we respond to whatever life throws our way. And, as we wrap up our deep dive into the incredible world of mindset, I think that's a really powerful takeaway.
It is. And while we've just scratched the surface, this conversation has really ignited something in me. It's like we all have this incredible capacity for growth, and it all starts with this simple yet profound shift in mindset.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And for everyone listening, we want to leave you with this final thought. Think about an area of your life where you're feeling stuck. Maybe it's your career, a relationship, a personal goal, something you just can't seem to get unstuck. What if, instead of seeing it as a dead end, you saw it as an opportunity for incredible growth? What would it look like to approach that challenge with a fresh, growth-oriented perspective? Just something to ponder as you go about your day. So, until next time, keep those minds expanding.